Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Hapitalist, where I chaos around a bit with some of my favorite people in the world. Today, we're talking to Aurora Winters. You want to introduce yourself, Aurora?
Yeah,
Winter. Sorry,
Aurora
Winter.
Winter, just one. Yeah,
In-
just a singular. Keep with the unique.
yes.
I live in Los Angeles, like you, Russell. I'm a former TV writer, producer, award-winning screenwriter. I'm also a successful serial entrepreneur. So I love to be creative, whether it has to do with movies, books, or business is very creative as well. And I've written 10 books, both fantasy and nonfiction. My most recent nonfiction is Turn Words into Wealth, Seven Ways to Make Seven Figures as a Thought Leader, which came out March 2026.
Wow. Like it just came out. Like, and this is
Yeah,
the press. This is the press tour for it
you
now,
got it.
probably.
That's right.
Amazing. Okay, so we talked about a lot beforehand, and you said some very nice things about my capitalism book that I very much appreciate and endeared me to you to me. But we started talking about how like the middle is disappearing and
Yeah,
AI is expanding into it. Like,
exactly.
do you want to talk a little bit more about that? What even the middle means?
Yeah. I'm super excited about this. Passionate, I guess, is a better word because there is some doom elements to it potentially. I think we need to know that the middle of the market is totally being crushed by AI, especially if you're in a creative industry or you're an author or you create videos or whatever. You need to, if you want to make money, you need to pay attention to this. So this means the market, even more than before, has bifurcated into the low end and then the high end. So the middle of the market is going to be doom and gloom. And that's because, as you know, which would make sense, AI is making things fast and free and actually pretty darn good. So you
Hmm.
don't want to be in the fast, free, and pretty darn good. You want to lean into the things that make you uniquely human. You want to really lean into your personal brand or your business brand. So
Hmm.
I think we have four human superpowers that can immunize us from the effects of AI. But just as a general rule, you don't want to be competing with AI, China, or Walmart. That is
Hmm.
a recipe for going bankrupt. On the other hand, if you lean into your personal brand, as Russell does brilliantly with his videos and podcasts and books, people will pay a premium to work with you because they like you. So,
Yeah.
what are those four human superpowers? We can get into that. But I think that there is an opportunity in 2026 for people to build a brand. AI has made some things faster and easier. Like come from film and television. I love making movies. Like a year ago, it would have been impossible to make a little mini movie for my fantasy book. And now we have them on
Hmm.
YouTube at Anna's Zest series. They do take a while, but all of a sudden it's cheaper and faster and
Yeah.
feasible. Whereas without these AI video creation tools, it would have been, Hollywood budgets impossible.
Well, I'll name drop one of our approved vendors, Creatorwood and Michael Evans. Like this is their thing, turning books into movies. So like this
Hmm.
is they're doing everything they can to make that happen. Um, so I want to also I love all of the things you said, but one of the things that I think gets lost in this conversation is like when you have a personal brand that's strong, you also have, especially if you've been doing this for a while, like first party data. Like you have your
Hmm.
own methodologies that you have done, and I have RussellBot on my website that is exclusively trained on just like the 3 million words that I've said and talked in the past 10 years.
Hmm.
And people pay for access to that outside of
That's right.
all of the, like, they could go and talk to Chat GPT, but they want my methodologies
Yeah.
unmixed with all the other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the case where AI is making a breakthrough possible. Otherwise, people would have to pay you top dollar to talk to you personally, whereas the
Hmm.
Russell bot can give them access to some of your best thinking really rapidly. So that's really cool. I think the best approach for creators or thought leaders is to have a legacy piece. So at least one book. And maybe if if your book is Atomic Habits, you only need to have one. But then also to complement that with weekly content, such as on your podcast, or like I have the Strategic Basics
Hmm.
YouTube channel. So we want to have that 1-2 punch to build the brand. And I think 2026 is a great year to build the brand. It's not too late, but there's also going to be a benefit to jumping on, leaning into your brand more now than ever before. And most people may not be aware that YouTube has 16% of all internet traffic. So I think YouTube, for most thought leaders, experts, and entrepreneurs, YouTube can be a super valuable way to stay in touch and build your brand. I know a lot of people have YouTube channels with their podcasts and there's no video. I like that you have video. I have video on strategic basics. I think as ugly as my face may be, your brand is your energy. And so I think your face can matter more than ever before. And of the four, do you want to go into the four human
Yeah, but I gotta tell
superpowers?
you, we don't say negative things here, even about ourselves. Please don't say please don't say mean things about my friend.
Aw, that's so cool.
But yeah, I do
Yeah,
want to talk about the four things. Let's do it.
let's do it. Okay, so there's actually four plus a bonus one. So what can AI do really fast? AI can do anything generic. So anything that is not generic is going to be your superpower. I love how Joanna Penn says double down on being human. Okay, so what does
Mhm.
it mean to double down on being human? So your superpowers are your stories. So AI can produce information or just
Right.
content, but nobody else has your stories, your scars, your breakthroughs, your
Mhm.
4 a.m. moments you woke up, your divorce that went terribly wrong, but then turned out to be the best thing, whatever your stories are. So I think we really have to collect those stories, your own stories, the stories of the people whose lives that you've impacted. I know, Russell, you've helped a lot of people with their Kickstarter. So all of their stories are part of your brand.
Mhm.
The second thing is,
Well,
of
hang on, before
course,
before we go on top of there, I want to say one other part of this, which
yeah.
is the thing that I find really valuable being like this, if this is the middle of the market, I'm like, I don't know, I'm crashing through one side of it, is I find AI is interesting when I'm like, I have this idea. How can I make it as palatable as possible to as many people as possible without
Mhm.
making it like AI actually, if you are someone who like has very, I mean, stories about how the present can influence the past and such, like I'm really pretty out there. So I also think there is value to saying, okay, where is my where's my piece of the market and how can I
Yeah.
make content that brings people down a rabbit hole to me further and further and further. But maybe
Yeah.
this is not the first thing. Maybe I don't want them to read my capitalist book first. Maybe I want them to read my like how to build a creative career first, and then like that's their fifth stop. Do you find any value there?
By the way, you mentioned the capitalist book, so I love this book, How to Thrive as a Writer in a Capitalist Dystopia. So if you haven't read it,
Yeah.
you might want to read it. All right. So yes,
Yeah.
exactly right.
Mhm.
So after stories, and I think everybody's well served to collect those stories, and like you're saying, Russell, to lean into what is more unique and special about them. I think a lot of people hesitate. They want to be average. They don't want to offend anybody. They don't want to be the tall poppy. No, that's the wrong approach in the age of AI because generic drivel is flooding the market at such a rapid
Mhm.
speed it's impossible. So you do want to be the tall poppy. You do want to lean into what's a bit different, what's a bit risky, what's unique about your worldview. Okay, so that bakes into your stories, but it also starts to come into what I'm calling your style, which is what's unique about Russell. Like you have some very unique points of view, and to build a powerful brand in 2026 and beyond, we need to lean into those things rather than hiding those things.
Mhm.
And then, of course, our presence. So when people can see you on video or they can connect with you live or in person, or they can connect with you in an interactive Zoom call, that's precious because AI cannot replicate that, at least not yet. And if they do replicate it, it wouldn't be Russell and Aurora. It would be some other thing
Right.
happening there. And then the fourth thing that's a superpower, and there is a bonus one, is really what I'm calling it's either you can call it leadership if you like, but I call it coaching. So, what is the difference between what happens with coaching and what happens with an info dump that we get from AI?
Mhm.
So, Socratic coaching, for example, asks powerful questions and then waits for the other person to think about, and come up with the answer. When somebody thinks about and struggles to find an answer, they're actually building new pathways in their brain. They're actually growing myelin. It's actually changing somebody's brain when you ask a powerful question and wait for them to answer, and they have that aha moment. Zzz, that creates
Mhm.
a new pathway in their brain. You're rewiring their brain. AI does the exact opposite of that. We ask it questions and then we passively wait for it to give us the answers.
Mm.
which is going to probably make us a whole heck of a lot stupider. So, can you lean into your coaching ability to see greatness in others and pull it forth? That's what I love to do at Same Page Publishing. I love to
Mhm.
see greatness in people's stories, in what they're up to, and help them see it too, because lots of times people are self-deprecating. And then well, I want you to have a comment, but there's a bonus superpower that is
Yeah,
an
I
extra
think
one.
that's, I mean, so how capitalist kind of works is we have all of these resources that are in information. There's three tiers. There's like information, transformation, and implementation. That's
Yeah,
how I think about it. And the information part is, even though we do the most of it, we spend the most time on it, is actually the one people pay least for. They
yeah,
paid least for it back in the like in the olden times before AI, but they like even pay for it less here. And
yeah,
what they pay for is point of view. What they really want to pay for is either someone to do it for them, but
yeah.
like the transformational power of what you're doing, whether that is the information or there's like, okay, well, how to thrive as a writer in a capitalist dystopia, like is a point of view on information. So there is like
It's a
some of
point of
this
view.
stuff,
Exactly.
but then you're like the transformation part is really where you are becoming the thing that you want to be. And
Exactly.
so the when I think about live, I think about ritual, and there's like
Mm,
there's two kinds of ritual. We are very good at the media part of ritual, where it's like we are talk. I mean, this is the media. We all, I call it church. So it's
sure.
like we all show up here, and like
Uh-huh.
the person at the front gives a mass, and we're all there in the place together.
I
But
love it.
we're really bad as business people at the rosary. Sorry for anyone
Ah.
who's not like a Catholic human, but like I grew up that way. So the ritual is the things that we do alone or in
Mm,
small groups outside of the people, and how can they be taught to like a person has to teach you the rosary, not
mm,
necessarily, and you're not necessarily learning that from the priest. You're learning that from someone else, and then you're doing it in silent in your own contemplation. And every time you do that, that brings you up, that brings you a closer to the brand. So like we have this Happiness Tarot. Happiness
mm,
Tarot is something you can do every day yourself that like is a solo ritual. We have these small group breakthrough sessions, which while they're moderated by me, are actually we break people up into small groups of 3 to 5 and they do their own thing. They all have their own breakthroughs and then they come in and we talk about them together. But like,
that's so
so
valuable.
it is the most valuable thing that we have found in all of the things that we do. It's like the people that are having these little pods to talk together. So it's this sort of descending area of live. So I think that's the third thing that you said, where it's like, yes, live is important, but we tend to only think about the thing we're literally currently doing right now and
Hmm.
not or like we show up and we lead the community and we ask the questions. But communities actually suck when the leader is the person who's asking all of the questions and everyone
Yeah.
hates them. So the more you can go down and say, okay, we have church every week doing this thing. Every Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock, you will get an email from me with like some article for the week. But
Huh.
then we have these asynchronous things. We have asynchronous chats. We have community. We have all of these ways. We have a co-working space that like people in our that our unicorns can come to. And it's a place of like they exist. We used to say at Writer MBA, no one wants no one wants to play with their mom and dad. Like they want no one is their true self in front of their mom and dad. They are like
Yeah.
they're acting on
Constrained.
some level. So and they can't learn. So it's like I had to learn to be like I'm just gonna go and like let you and like I'm gonna listen for if you fight or do something, but like I'm just gonna let you exist in this space
Yeah.
by yourself. And we as business people, I think, are incredibly bad at all of those things and not know and being letting the chaos be good chaos instead of micromanaging
It
everything.
can be creative
Yeah.
unfolding. Well, I like that a lot. So I like to say that the information economy is dead.
Hmm.
AI killed it. but the transformation economy is alive and well. So as people can shift into transformation, as you just gave a brilliant example of, that's where people will pay you more and get more value because AI has made information free,
Mm,
cheap, and fast. But point of view is something else. Connection is something else. And people actually need people. We need people. So then those are the four human superpowers. And then the fifth one, which is kind of a bonus, because it takes a little bit of a minute to explain, is your massively transformative purpose, which I'm going to ask you to say what yours is, Russell, because I know yours is very clear. But I think as we lean into, as human beings, like, what are you passionate about? What do you care about? How would you like to make the world a different place? You know, what would you want to see on your tombstone? And I'm super inspired by Buckminster Fuller, who
mm,
has on his tombstone, "Call me trim tab," which takes a little second to explain, but a trim tab is a tiny rudder on the big rudder that
mm.
turns the freighter or turns a huge ship. So that's my goal is with my business, Same Page Publishing, that I want to be the trim tab that turns the big rudder. And I love to help thought leaders who are making a difference make a bigger difference by getting more clear, concise, and compelling with their message, whether it's in a book or in a video or what have you. So that's my massively transformative purpose. Do you want to share yours?
Yeah, so this is interesting because I was just thinking about capitalists today, and like we have this big overall metric, which is optimize for joy and make money doing it.
I
My
love that.
overall one has always been take control of your career, which is
Mm,
autonomy is the thing that in all of my fiction and nonfiction books. But I actually have been really I've been struggling to figure out like what people actually want from Hapitalist because or what they will pay for Hapitalist,
hmm
which is different than what they want or what we are doing here.
mm,
And so I think the thing that people really want is to know how to sell their weird shit and to have someone enable them to follow the thing that they want. So like my new one that I've been working out today, not
mm.
even knowing this was going to be the conversation, is I enable creators to sell their weird shit.
How timely that we're talking about this today.
So
You
weird.
enable creators to sell their weird shit. That's a
Yes.
very good, massively transformative purpose. It's very you, Russell. I love it.
Yay. I did it.
Yay, you
I
did
had a
it.
good one. I had a good one. And but I do think it's interesting because I was on a call yesterday and someone said the thing that I sell is not the thing that this program is about. Like this
Mm,
program is about this particular one was about like empathy and empathetic selling, but like no one is gonna spend thousands of dollars on like learn how to empathetically sell course. They will spend this much money on like how to sell out a conference or like how to make a million
right.
dollars or whatever like that because that is like easy. So there's also this idea that I've been trying to synthesize of like, okay, what is the thing you want to backdoor
Yeah.
into people's lives and like what is the thing they will actually pay for to keep
Yeah.
your door open?
Yeah. This is something that really fascinates me as well because it's not that easy, but it's really worth leaning into. And I've had several businesses where I was completely wrong about what I thought the person wanted.
Hmm.
And when I nailed it, when I took a step back and went, well, what do they really want? Then that changed everything. So an example would be, I'm a young widow, or I was young at the time that I was widowed, and so I launched a company called the Grief Coach Academy.
Hmm.
After a while, after I figured out how to get out of my own grief, I wanted to help other people through it. And so I initially thought that people who came to me just wanted to get through their grief as quickly as possible. That
Hmm.
would kind of make sense. But then I discovered that no, actually, people wanted a community, they
Hmm.
wanted connection, and they wanted meaning from this
Right.
devastating loss, whatever had happened in their life. The child had died, a
Hmm.
spouse had died. They wanted to make it into meaning. So I changed from offering like a sprint, like 9 coaching sessions, and I'll get you, to peace at least.
Hmm.
Um, Doing these different processes that cognitive behavioral therapy basically that did really release people, but then it still left them without the meaning and community piece.
Right.
So I changed it from a sprint, which was not that expensive, to a 1 year long program that was maybe $15,000. And the people aged in reverse. They just blossom. Like it was so cool to see them a year later looking like a decade younger
Hmm.
because maybe they didn't realize it or couldn't articulate it. But when I discovered that what they really wanted was meaning, purpose, community, and ongoing connection, it changed what I offered.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I've gone to a lot of business conferences this year, and they are generally not my speed,
Hmm.
because everyone is very like, how do I make the most money doing a thing? And I'm
Hmm.
like, if I wanted to make the most money, like it's crypto or like AI, like you just like do like go and sell stocks to rich people and like you'll make a bunch of money. Like, what is this? But what I found at these conferences is there's all of these people who have deployed venture capital funds and like they've done all of these things and they're like, I don't know what I will talk about for the next 3 years because I've
Hmm.
always just been like, this is what the market wants, and I give the market what they want. And a
Hmm.
community and like a membership, which is at the heart of capitalist, is the the whole underlying ethos is like you have to be like people have to make it part of their identity. Like it
Yeah.
has to be something that they're going to come back to the second year or like the third year or like the fifth year. They want to keep, I was like, I don't care if you ever join or become a unicorn, but I do care that if you come, you stay for 5 years. Like
Yeah. You
that's what
want
I
the stick.
optimize for. And it's like, so what are you going to be talking about? And I sit down with these people, like literally 100 million plus funds, like companies that like are worth insane amounts of money. And they're like, I'm like, okay, well, like, what do you want? And they're like, well, the market wants this. I'm like, no, that's
What do you want?
like,
Right.
what do you like doing? My
Yeah.
favorite one is to sit on a call and just be like, what do you like doing? And then just let them spin all the things that they do and then keep
Yeah.
doing that. And I'm like, okay, so we've been through 10 rounds of this. You've told me what you do, and you've not said one thing about what you like. So
Yeah.
like you feel stuck, you don't have meaning, your audience is kind of atrophying, and you hate everything that you do. Is there potentially any connection?
You're going to an early grave if you don't have any joy in your life. Now, that's actually something, it sounds a little bit similar to what I did. I got my MBA in 2015, and then I had the problem of what do I do next? Too many
Mm,
opportunities. And I actually read, it was in Stephen Kotler's book. He wrote The Art of Impossible. I'm not sure it was in that book or one of his other books, but anyway, he said, make a list of 24 things that you're curious about, and then make a list of 12 things, 12 problems that you'd like to solve.
mm,
And so when I did that and I made a list of 24 things I was curious about, it was like podcasting, stand-up comedy, TEDx talks, Kickstarter, but it was like almost all communication and then a little bit around health.
mm,
I'm like, there's a pattern here. So that really helped me, launch Same Page Publishing because I help
mm.
people, get clear on their message, which gives me such joy. I would love to share,
Let's
unless
do
you want to
it.
pop in there, I want to share the first time I realized that the message mattered so much.
Yeah,
So back in the day, my husband and I were two young kids fresh out of college, and we started a business because we were in love, which is always a logical reason to start a business.
sure.
And we couldn't stand working at our corporate jobs. We had to be together. So we started this little business that could chug, 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 but it was barely, keeping the lights on. And then I had this $1 million idea, which I'll tell you later. It doesn't matter for this part of the story. I had this $1 million breakthrough idea, which actually was a kick-ass idea. We would have no competition and potentially be able to double our profit margins. And I was like so excited about it. So I did all the research. We hired lawyers and accountants to figure it out, spent $20,000 to make sure that we dotted our I's and crossed the T's because there was a tax shelter element. And then I buried people with a phone book of content, of information to answer all the questions they could possibly have, their wife could have, their accountant could have, their lawyer could have,
Yeah.
and people would just glaze over.
Mm,
And we were on we were like looking at how many more weeks could we survive because the $1 million idea was a dud as far as no sales. No
hmm.
sales. Good idea. See, I was sure it was
Sure.
a good idea. And and then my husband said to me, we were in the yacht sales or boat business, and he said to me, "Well, people really only use their boat a couple of weeks a year anyway." And I was like, "That's it." And we went from all of this content and zero sales, running out of cash. I changed just 7 words in our marketing.
Yeah,
We doubled our profit margins, and in 1 week, we made $3 million. We had a lineup of people waiting
sure.
to work with it. The radio stations called. We got on the front cover of BC Business Magazine. That is the power of a message. And it was just 7 words. So I went, here's the bad message. This was the initial message, which is not good. It was very intellectual. It's like, okay, you can buy a boat, put it on our charter fleet. You can have 10% personal use. You get 33 and a third straight line depreciation, subject to the half year rule in year one. And there's a 7% investment tax credit. That message did not sell boats.
Sure.
But this message did. 5 weeks of sun, fun, and tax shelter.
Yeah.
That made people lean in and say, tell me more, because it's like stand-up comedy. You don't expect tax shelter at the end of 5 weeks
Mhm.
of sun, fun, and tax shelter. And that's what you want. We want where people say, tell me more, instead of burying them with too much intellectual information. So they're like, I think you're smart, Aurora. I know you're excited about it, but I don't know. It sounds like too much work to figure this out.
Yeah, what's interesting is so I always tell people that like whether if they buy your book, it's not about you. But if they don't buy your book, it's also not about you. Like
Mm,
it's about them. It's like all of this is, all of everything that we do is determining how we are a good conduit for someone else's transformation. That's it. And if someone reads our book, reads what we do and likes it, or like takes it and likes it, then we were the good conduit. And
yeah,
if they don't buy it, we may be a bad conduit or we may have bad messaging. And
yeah.
if they buy it and don't like it, we were not the right conduit. And so all of this is
I
about
love
just
that.
making somebody make a decision.
I love that. That actually is really good. Be a conduit for them, either way. Exactly right. So it needs to be a clear, concise
Mhm.
conduit.
Right.
And that was the first time that I realized that $1 million message is actually worth $1 million. That 7 words could be worth $1 million because they
Yeah.
took us from 12% to 24% margins. We
Yeah.
became the largest yacht dealership in Western Canada, a multi-million-dollar
Amazing.
business, and we could have been bankrupt
Yeah.
if it was not for those 7 words.
Well, that's really it. I love this because as I'm going through this whole rebrand of my own business
Ah,
into Capitalist, I'm sitting here being like, look, bad ideas and great ideas look the same until they catch. And then like when they catch, they catch. And
yeah,
sometimes they don't catch, but like other times they do catch. And so like I think that we are so much more. 'Cause when I tell people the thing about the conduit, they're like, well, like that takes some of the joy out of the like someone buys it and like they resonate with the thing. And I'm like, okay, well, like let's take a little bit off the high end and say like maybe it's not like all about you, maybe it's somewhat about them. But like we're so much more motivated by fear that if you can
hmm,
cut the same amount off the low end of like, oh, well, this has nothing to do with you. Like it's just
yeah,
about like them, then suddenly you're like, okay, well, this is not about me either way. What is actually the message that like will resonate? And the seven, eight, the words that you had said, it's like clearly you are coming. Like if I diagnose the sentence, it is like you, human, get 5 weeks in sun. And these three, every word in that was about like the transformation that they
yeah,
get. And then the
exactly.
last one was the kicker. But like the first thing you said, which was a bunch
Five
more
weeks of
words,
sun, fun, and tax shelter. Too many words, the
right?
first one. Yeah.
But even that first one was like, okay, these are the processes that you go through, but like,
Hmm.
what are they getting? Like, some
No
of those
benefit.
words
Yeah.
were the benefits that they got, I'm sure, but like, what are the benefit? And the minute that you go 5 weeks of sun, fun, and tax shelter, you're like, oh, every single word in that sentence is about them. None
Yeah.
of it's about you. And like,
Yeah.
that is how you build great messaging, the foundation of
Exactly.
it.
Yeah. Well, that was the first time. And it was only because we really, really needed to cut through the noise. And that was the first time that I'm like, okay, message matters a lot. But the
Yeah.
good news for most people is I think most people are spending way too much time doing the thing. They're spending too much time writing their book or creating their website or fine tuning this, that, and the other thing. And they're not spending enough time on what's the message that will cut through the noise.
Hmm. Yeah, and also what is the I mean, I'm a big fan of chaotic. energy. Like I'm a big chaotic energy person, if you
Yeah.
cannot tell. But one of the things that we say when we're trying to design, when we work with someone and we're trying to design their message is, okay, some people are really good order. Like you had a whole business that had one thing and one 7-word thing and it could sell that one thing. But a lot of creatives have like 50 different things that they all want to do at the same time. And
Yes.
so I'm like, okay, so like granted, the best practice way to do this is you pick one thing and you just do that thing. But like you
Hmm.
have already proven in your existence that like you're here at Capitalist. So like that's probably not a message that resonates with you. You want to do a lot of things. You got a lot of hats that you wear. So like what if instead of like trying to find the one thing, we instead create a big, broad bucket of things that like it's broad enough to encompass everything that you want to do.
Hmm.
And then we just use that as like the container that people are pointing back to so that when they find it, it's like, oh, Hapitalist. Oh, saw this. I've heard the name Hapitalist a bunch of times, so I'm going to come wherever that chaos is. But if we can create a something that is broad enough to that like you can make music or like you can do nonfiction or you can like make a weird yoga retreat or whatever you want to do. If everything, all of the
It's
interest,
all
even if
selling
it,
the weird shit.
well, yeah, it's about, but like it's about the thing that you don't know that people don't know about weird shit is like it needs better branding. So like it's but like the
That's
better
certainly true.
branding is the whole big
Yeah.
thing of how you can encompass your whole life. That is inefficient, but inefficiency, it turns out, is the real flex. It is the only flex we actually have. Like,
I love that you said that because most people forget about the struggle is the most important part of the
mhm,
story.
right.
A lot of, entrepreneurs that I deal with or business leaders, they kind of want to erase the struggle. But if you
Hmm.
think about it, you and I both live in Los Angeles,
Right.
so we're like in the movie business in that energy. If the hero comes, picks up a sword and slays the dragon, there's no story, which means
Right.
there's no hero. So
Right.
the messy part of the story, the struggle is actually part of the hero's journey. And
Right.
so don't erase that part. But I'm curious, like, I want to hear about how people's identity shifts with Happiness. Like at the Grief Coach Academy, I felt like part of what worked with the year-long program is they came with a identity of a victim.
Hmm.
They were victimized. Their child died. Their husband died. Their mother has got whatever, Alzheimer's. So they came with the energy of victim, but as they learned these coaching skills, they left or they shifted to the energy of helper,
Hmm.
that they were helping other people. And that's a big shift to go from victim to somebody who's helping other people is a very positive shift in identity. What do you notice with your clients? Do they take on the I am a capitalist, or how do they shift?
Yeah. So the main shift in my entire career has been I am powerless at the
Mm,
thing. I have to do the things people say.
hmm.
And two, I have autonomy to take control of my life.
Well, that's
And
a
how
huge
that
shift.
plays out in Hapitalist specifically, 99% of the time, somebody has been knocked around by business. Either they've they've not gotten where they want to go, or they've gotten where they want to go, but doing something they hate. And they've
Right.
always been told, you can't sell. Like this thing is not profitable. You should just give it up. Just like
Hmm.
do this other thing. And all of marketing is I'll give you this analogy of a bake shop. The best people, the people that really succeed, that really resonate with capitalists want to own a bake shop. So when you own a bake shop, you're one of two things. You have to do two things. If you just want to bake, then you can have a hobby. I mean, just
Yeah.
do the hobby. Great. If you just want to shop, then you can make money doing a lot of things. Like, and most marketing is based on this. It's like,
Right.
if you want to own a shop, then you should find a pain point and sell it to rich suckers. because they are the ones with money. Like those are like I just get if you want a seven-figure business, go find a pain point that people will pay you to
Solve a
solve and
problem.
find people who will solve it. Like this
Right.
is the three things. You can
That's
read five
exactly right.
million books and they will come down to that thing.
Yeah.
Find pain point, people will pay for and then find and then solve it. And then make sure those people have money. Now,
Yeah.
most businesses are bake shops. They want to own a shop, but they actually like want to bake cookies.
Yeah.
And you're like, or bread or cake or whatever. And so you sit here and you go, okay, but like nobody needs cake. Okay, how many weddings are there in like a given like this is not working for me. Like I can't go
Right.
global. I'm like in this location that I have to do this thing. And marketing is very useful for those people. In fact, it's way more useful than like your yacht thing because if people want a yacht, they're going to get a yacht. Like if people want to like there's like 5 billion cake shops in Los Angeles, right? So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you have to be able to stand up. So like but at the same time that people are like I need better marketing, they're being turned off because all of the marketing is about pain point selling, which actually devalues the thing that they want to
Mm.
do. They're like, no, the value for me is making cake, and you're telling me just like abandon the cake part of the business. And
Right.
I don't know, again, sell crypto or whatever, because if you want to be an effective altruist, then the best way to do that is to make an infinite amount of money. And the one of the
Yeah.
ways you can do that is selling Sam Bankman-Fried, like whatever that thing is. And
Yeah.
so the people that succeed in capitalists the most or like resonate the most are people that are saying, I want to own a bake shop
Hmm.
and I don't want to rely on hopium.
Yeah.
I because
Hopium can get you.
and the things that you hear are always like, make what you want and people will come. And you're like, no, but like, I actually want the strategy to do this thing. And they're
Joseph
like,
Campbell took back that follow your bliss. He said, follow your blisters. He corrected
right,
it.
exactly, exactly. So at Capitalist, we basically have data-driven and experience-driven strategies to help people who are like more mission-based,
Yeah.
means-based people actually have success. And when they see that, suddenly they're like, oh my God, I can sell this weird rock. I can do all of these other things. And once you have the agency to do one thing, it
Yeah.
makes you really, really excited to do the next thing and then to show other people how to pull them along.
Yeah. Yeah. And how are you leveraging AI? You mentioned you've got the Russell bot. Are you leveraging it in other ways? What do you think are good ways to use AI and what are bad ways? Like, I would say that AI is a terrible master, and people
Sure.
can really make totally, they can destroy their brand if they
Mm,
don't go to AI already having, clear values, what they stand for, what problems they solve, what they're passionate about, what's unique about them, the four human superpowers and their massively transformative purpose. Those things need to be clear and powerful within you before you go to AI. And then you can use AI to scale that message, but don't use it to kill your brand by becoming generic. That's kind of my broad strokes, although I
yeah.
have a few other AI tips. But what do you think and what do you experience?
So I think that unless you know what the end point is, AI is pretty useless. Because if you don't know how to make the thing, if you don't know the experience you want someone to have,
Yeah.
and you can't create that experience. Because here's the thing with all people say what they want, but no one actually knows what they want. I have this great article on Happilist that's about why sequels fail. And sequels fail when you try to take the things that happen in the movie and replicate them. And they succeed when you take the essence of what the movie gives to an audience and
Yeah.
do it again
Experience.
very differently or similarly. But like, if you don't know how to take what someone says and be like, oh, actually, what you mean are do all the calculations to be like, this is what you actually mean. This is what you actually like. No one asked me for Capitalist Tarot. it's just like so obvious that like they all use tarot and tarot doesn't have a good business insights, like a practical business
That's a
insights
very cool
thing.
idea,
And
breakthrough
so you're
idea.
like, okay, I know how to, and then I can say, all right, so what I want is to take this 300 quotes from my work and match it up with like the right card to match this
Yeah.
thing. And so
Yeah.
you're like, well, AI can do that part. Like AI can
Yeah.
match those things. And then I like designed all the cards and did all the things and I like had the vision of like what I wanted at the end. And then I sat back and was like, wow, everyone really likes
That's
this more than
cool.
I thought. But it was the end goal. Like I knew it's not even the end goal. It's like
It
I
was a very
know the
creative
exp
idea.
yeah. Well, and what is the thing? What is the experience? What is the feeling I want someone to have?
Yeah.
I say, I mean, you know, you work with nonfiction. Like most nonfiction can be a tweet, but most people want to read an essay. So it's
Yeah.
like where I think nonfiction AI is really useful in nonfiction is to be like, oh my God, I have a really good insight that
Hmm.
like I have a framework, but like I don't want to write the 5 step formula to do this. I just like the whole article is this one insight, and then people are like,
Right.
okay, how do I do that? And like AI is really good at saying, okay, let us break this into the chaos framework or like the
Yeah. If you
X
have a
theory, or
framework.
like here are the 5 archetypes that I see inside this methodology that you can like use to do this thing. And but like
That's
it's that core that like you have to come back to. I say cyborg, not scab. That's
I like that. Well, that's a really good example of a creative idea. So I always think when I'm challenging myself for others to come up with creative ideas, take something that works and then cross-pollinate it with a completely different industry. So you
mm,
took tarot cards that worked and you cross-pollinated them with business, which is completely unexpected. But now
right,
you've got like, wow, that is a kick-ass idea. And then you used AI later in the process, to match things up and to do some of the
right.
execution part of it. But I liked what you had said a minute ago. I think AI is like a tool. So my favorite metaphor, which I'm borrowing from Gary Vee and modifying for my own purposes, is I think AI is like a basketball,
Mm,
right? So if you give LeBron James a basketball, it could be worth millions or even billions of dollars. Give me a basketball, it could be worth a sprained ankle.
mm,
So people who don't have the actual skill cannot get AI to do the thing. Like you and I've written lots of books, so AI can help us, I don't know, spell check or flesh something out or whatever, because we know what good looks like because we've
right.
done it. But people are who don't know how to write a book, if you use AI to write a book, it'd be the same as having, the kid who's graduated with a PhD who has no
Mm,
world experience and doesn't have your voice write your book for you. Like,
right,
could be a complete disaster.
right.
But in the hands of a master like yourself, you've written so many books, you can use AI to make it faster. I love using it to spell check because at a certain point, I
Right.
cannot find the typos anymore,
Right.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, I used it for a fiction series, one fiction series that's 4 books. And one thing I really liked about fiction was it's like I don't like writing fight scenes. My books
Mm,
have a lot of action in them, but I don't. There's one scene in one of the books that I haven't released that's like Lucifer has to fight 12 demons, and all of
mm,
those demons have to be different, and they all have to have like unique skills, and they all have to beat him up a little bit more, and like this has to happen. But like, I don't want to develop 12 demons to like do this thing. I
hmm.
just want the demons to already be existed and this fight to be happening, and then I can
Uh-huh.
edit it. So I think those things are like
Oh,
a
that's
really
good. That's a good
valuable
use.
way. Yeah, and
Yeah.
magic systems. I think making sure magic systems are consistent. Like I
Yeah.
consult with Plot Drive, which is AI writing software. And
Hmm.
there we redesign their messaging to be get in flow faster and stay in flow longer, but flow looks different to everyone.
Hmm.
So it's like, what if you offload the parts of it that you don't like and just did the parts you do, and you could reliably have a thing? And I've been doing this a long time with AI, and I still mostly haggle with it to like give me the thing that I want. Still, even
Yeah,
at
you
like
still have to
Opus.
push back so many friggin' times.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
you can put other writing that you've done in the project and that can certainly help. But it's funny that you said it because I don't really like writing fight scenes either. I find them
right.
kind of boring to write. but
Yes.
I like them on screen, and you got
Right.
to have them. I have a lot of action in my books too, and you got to have fight scenes. But I don't know, I find them boring to write.
Yeah. I mean, and then it's like, okay, well, fight scenes are mechanical on some
Yeah.
level, like
Hmm.
also sex scenes. Like they both are
Hmm.
like this, that. There's like some moves that you do, and you're like, okay,
Right.
I got to make everyone slightly different. And you're like, ugh, this is like every clue's got, and it's like, okay, well, I have all of these things, but like I don't. When I first started using AI, my best example was make me a puzzle box that I can't solve. Because
Mm.
like I can only solve the puzzles that I know how to solve, but like there are
Hmm.
an infinite number of puzzles that I can't solve. And like
Right.
those are really good uses of AI.
Yeah.
Um, I also think a really good use of AI is so like I designed an entirely new platform that I am currently recoding for Supabase with AI, and
Hmm.
like it's going to basically like I think all community apps are terrible, and so I made one for like my community, and I was like,
Hmm.
wow, this is really good. So I'm now rebuilding it to like be able to be like a community app that other people can use,
Hmm.
and like, I don't know anything about how to make an app, but I do know a lot about using apps. And because
Right.
basically all code is in GitHub to
Yeah.
like as a repository, like AI can pull that repository and just
You don't
say,
need to be a
you
coder
want this
anymore.
thing, you
Yeah.
want this thing here. But like, I have had to be very cognizant of what I want is it to be AI first, which is, and I want people to like, what would it actually take for you to have like be a world-class coach with just yourself using like AI? And it's like it learns all the things that people are saying on the platform. There's like a team of coaches that like go that like can reach out, they can surface information, they can connect people together, they can do all of this stuff, and like all of that knowledge of what I wanted the platform to do. And it may be terrible or it may be great, I don't know, but like all of the things that I have to tell it are from my own knowledge of how I
Hmm.
think coaching should work and why
Right.
it would work and what is wrong with community apps right now. And even though it's largely or almost exclusively built by AI and me going back and forth with it for like months, it's also built on the point of view to go back to the thing that you say about like, look, it's my point of view. I think
Yeah.
AI coaching is broken and I think community is broken. And I think the
Yeah.
solution is both of those things together that can like reach out and make connections at scale is the solution. And like, so all of that design process is goes into it. When I talk to founders, when I tell people when they like go to conferences or like they talk to vendors, the question that they should ask is, why does this platform exist? This is the
Mm.
15th one of these. Why?
Right.
What is the
Exactly.
gap in the
Another one.
market that like you
Yeah.
see?
That
And
you're
it's so
solving.
clearly when you say the thing about yachts, it's like, oh, it's like timeshare for yachts. And like, obviously it's going to work because like if you can get that messaging right, everyone knows timeshares, everyone knows vacations, and everyone knows yachts. It's like all of
We
these
actually
things
did
work
that.
together.
We did that also. It was called Yacht Share. It didn't
Yeah.
actually work as well as selling somebody just one boat that they owned because people, I don't know, in North America like owning stuff. So I'm curious if you have shifted your writing more towards fiction or more towards nonfiction, or you're writing more or you're writing less now that AI is producing so much content. Has that shifted your writing plans?
I don't so like I write a lot more nonfiction now because it can be done and like there's edge cases,
Hmm.
but I've written now three series in which the underworld, the fairy realm, and the celestial realm all like get overtaken and basically do explosions and stuff in them. And so it's more I've written so many books and I'm like, how many times can I do this
How many
thing?
times have you done
Like,
that?
and like I don't want I'm writing less fiction just because I'm like I've written so many books that like my
Hmm.
point of view is out there, and unless someone hires me to write a book or a project or something like that, like I don't feel the pull to write the same 12 book series for the
Again,
fourth
right?
time.
Right.
But I actually really enjoyed writing the books, the series with AI. And I think there was great freedom in being able to say, I think this book needs a 12 fight demon.
Yeah.
12 demon fight. I would never write it. So there's things in that book that just I would never ever write because I
Uh-huh.
don't want to. I put off the fighting for as long as possible, then it happens as little as possible. Or like the
But
technical dynamics of like flight, like fights or things like I just like I'm not. I know there's just too many things that could go wrong in fact that like I don't write those things very often. And so it
yeah.
was great freedom in being like, oh, I could figure out a more middle of the road way to make this more palatable. I could make this series like slightly more palatable than my other series to people so that it's the inroad.
Right.
And I most people do not have 80 books, so they can but most people can say we'd have this thing called the bullseye method of building an audience, which is like you've got your weirdest stuff here. These are like where the
Hmm.
core fans come, and you make
Right.
these little radiating series and things out that are more and more palatable to a broader
Right.
range of
Broader.
people.
Hmm.
And that like pulls the people who really want to go in, but also you can make money on the things that are out here
Right.
even if the people don't come further in. So my number one book is my Kickstarter book in that author stack series. Still,
Yeah.
doesn't matter. No one ever buys the capitalism book, but
They like the Kickstarter.
like when they do buy the capitalism book, like that is like a core fan, or like my publishing is broken book. Like those are people who've made it through all this stuff.
Right.
So you
Those
need
are
all of
your
these
your
things.
cult
Yeah.
followers, your
Yeah.
super fans.
Exactly. And the people that are going to be the ones who become unicorns because like they see everything that's broken, but they
Yeah.
still want to do it anyway. Because like that's to me the secret of all of this stuff. It's like we love books, clearly. We both have publishing
We love
companies.
books. Yeah.
And it's like publishing is broken. And it's a weird capitalist dystopia that we live in, but like I still
So
want to make
weird.
books. I still want to make
Yeah.
books. So
I
it's
love
like
books.
okay, I can look. I believe that the first step to having a successful career is radical acceptance of radical life acceptance,
That
radical
is
other
radical
acceptance.
acceptance is so good for everything.
Yes. And if you can look at something and be like, I see all of the ugliness of the publishing industry and I see all the ugliness of capitalism, but I still want to do it anyway, like
Yeah.
that's the starting place to actually having the career you want. And like you can't until you can look at what is actually happening, what your life circumstances is, what you really want and what others are actually doing and name it, it's very hard to have success because you're living in a bubble that
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like is inaccurate to how the world works. And you're like, why can't my book sell? And it's like, well, you're selling them in Uruguay and they're not in Spanish. So like obviously you're not going to if you want them to sell in America, you have to like put them on Amazon and American places and like you have to like
Yeah.
write it in English. I don't know what to tell you, but like
Some
it's so
basic things.
it's like there is no expectation for you to be successful.
Yeah,
It's like
that's not a given. That's a bonus. Well, I
right.
started writing books because I really loved movies. And I
Mhm.
thought, instead of and then I started writing screenplays because I thought, hey, screenplay is shorter. And I actually am a produced award-winning screenwriter, but that was a miracle because most go into development hell.
Sure.
So what I'm loving about AI, although I love books, but I'm leaning into the video part of it.
Right.
So on YouTube at Anna's series, you can see like little 2 minute like mini movie trailers
Yeah.
from different elements of the book that are interesting enough and compelling enough to turn into a little video. So that's fun. And then I've got the Strategic Basics YouTube channel where we do comment on breaking news and turn it into business breakthroughs. And that's kind of
Yeah.
fun because yeah, even a year ago, it would have taken so much more time to do this kind of video.
Yeah.
So, although I'm still publishing books, I'm mostly appreciating that AI is empowering much better video content.
Yeah,
And
that's
and I think we can. AI can help us be more creative, whether it's books or videos or whatever. Brainstorming your tarot cards and putting that
Hmm.
together, like that's a good use of AI. Just don't let AI take your voice.
Yeah, I will say that I've lived on the weird fringes for all my whole career. And one of the true things about like if you want people to buy your weird book is they
Hmm.
have to know this stuff. Like they have to know the base of knowledge that it's built on in order
Hmm.
to even get there. Otherwise, they're going
Right.
to look at you crazy. But what AI allows you to do is be like, okay, you've got to know like 78 mythologies to like really
Yeah.
appreciate this series and like also
Hmm.
like how quantum physics works. And
Right.
like it's easier to learn those things now. It just like is blatantly like
Yeah.
anyone could be like, oh, someone said AI is democratizing not because everyone can use it, but because third world countries can use it to do things that only up until now only first world
Yeah.
countries could do. And when you have all of this knowledge, it people get bored with the middle. You can already see it happening. Like people
Yeah.
get bored with the middle really quickly, and they're looking for like new, interesting things, which gives more opportunities to, as
Yeah.
you were saying at the beginning, these like weird fringe bits.
Yeah.
Because, but like only because people are like, oh, I'm interested in quantum physics, and like, oh, I learned about quantum physics today, so like now I understand what Russell's saying or whatever the thing is.
Exactly. Well, YouTube is so great because it's like a free university
Mm,
for anybody who's got Wi-Fi and a smartphone around the world. People are learning all kinds of different things from, how to break dance to quantum physics. In fact, I
right.
did a I did an episode on strategic basics last week, and it was really about the Nobel Prize in physics, kind of proving that we're in the matrix. We're in
Right.
the matrix. And if you could really lean into that, we're in the matrix and that it changes depending on observation from the
Hmm.
double split experiment, that observation changes it. Like, what do you want to observe? What do you want to pay attention to? Because your attention itself is changing reality. And if we
Right.
all really knew that we were living in the matrix, well, how would we choose to live, right? You don't
Right.
want to live like some secondary character. You might as well be Neo.
Right. Yeah. All right. We gotta wrap up, but do you want to hear my like why I think how I think you can sell like anything with no competition quickly? Because it kind of goes into
Yes.
this one. Okay,
Yes.
so
Yes.
then we're gonna get your final thoughts about how crazy this is, and then we'll wrap up.
Okay.
But a friend of mine, so I work with a lot of like VC companies and tech companies, maybe not a lot, but a lot for me considering I was doing none of them a couple of years ago. And I started noticing that like most of them when they undid their balance sheets, I was like, you make less than me, but you raised like $20 million of VC. And he's like, you don't understand. VC isn't about how much money you make. VC is about plotting the future and making you the inevitable person to get them there. And
Hmm.
I when you see it, you start seeing that like all of these companies, Amazon, OpenAI, Facebook, all of them, what they have done is they have told a story about the future, and
Hmm.
if you believe their future, then you have to use their product. But
Hmm.
what we as humans can do is not believe their future because it's just the only reason why their future is coming to pass is because enough people believe it's going to come to pass to buy in the
Right.
thing. But at any point, you can just say, well, that's dumb.
Uh,
I'm just gonna like make this the future. And then if you can then be like, actually, all this is dumb. This is the
hmm.
actual future that I want, and like you should follow me here. And
Hmm.
like that's how you make a business with no competition. You just turn the axis a little bit, and then suddenly you're like, oh, yeah, I guess you could do that. You don't have to make everything a race to the bottom in pricing and like be everywhere all at once. You can
Hmm.
just like make a really cool yogurt stand in like Istanbul. And like those shits exist. Like
Mm.
it has to be possible to do that because the evidence is in the fact there's a bunch of fucking yogurt stands in Istanbul and
There's
they've
the
been around
proof.
for a long time. So like it
Exactly.
must be, I tell people, I'm like, it must be possible to make a business without any technology because we have had no technology for the vast majority of capitalism, and there's still been businesses. So
Yeah.
what are you even when you start seeing that, you like listen to you're like, what is Sam Altman even talking about? Like, this is
Yeah.
obviously untrue. Like, I bought this rock from a rock shop in New Orleans. Did you know there are shops that just sell crystals and rocks and shit? So like you pretty much do
Yeah.
whatever.
Exactly. Exactly right. Ah.
Yeah. Anyway, any thoughts on that or final thoughts that you want to share? I
I
definitely want to hear
think
more of what you where you're going.
the world is far more empowering than people make it. It's the radical acceptance thing. And it's kind of like the flip side of radical acceptance. Yes, you do need to accept everything, but then you could also accept that the world is your oyster and that you really
Right.
have infinite potential if you're
Yeah.
willing to step into it. So step into the spotlight and live your big, bold life because apparently we only get one turn to go around. So might as well make it count, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that. It is the combination between um, radical acceptance and Delulu is the Solulu. You got to hold both of them at once
exactly.
somehow. Yeah,
Exactly right.
I love
Absolutely.
that. Where should people go to find out more information about you?
All right. Well, if they want to read my latest nonfiction book, they can grab it wherever books are sold. Turn Words into Wealth. 7 Ways to Make Seven Figures as a Thought Leader. And this has all been updated for the age of AI. So it really addresses AI, how to use it, how not to use it, and 7 different paths to making cha-ching ching, one of which has got Kickstarter in it. But eight the way number 8 is selling a boatload of books. So let's get practical and actually have a business plan to go in your nonfiction book. Or if you like fantasy, got Magic, Mystery, and the Multiverse, that's on Amazon on Kindle Unlimited. And if
And
people
if
are interested, sorry,
oh,
did you want to say
oh, I
something?
was just gonna say, like, you can get if you go to your link tree, you get that first one for free, and you can do
That's
that.
right.
Like that, you can do that. You should do that for sure.
You should do that for sure. Yeah. So go to the link tree. And then if people want more help with writing a book or creating a YouTube channel or doing videos or launching their brand strategically, I'm calling myself a strategic brand showrunner because I know you know what a showrunner is.
Amazing.
So if they want that, they can find out more at my company, which is samepagepublishing.com, samepagepublishing.com.
Love it.
So
I love it. Well, thank you so. This was so fun. Thank you so much for
this
hanging
was
out with
so
me today.
fun. Thank you, Russell.